I'm not going to have time for retribution. We're going to make this country.
You should only have time for retribution. I'm not going to have time for retribution. That's the only thing you should have time for. See, you see why it gets me so upset? You don't like peaceful secession, but then now, if you don't want that, you've got to be like Stephen Ignoramus. You've got to be Nick Fuentes. You've got to be authoritarian to the max to go back at your political enemies. There's no in between on this.
Middle MAGA.
I don't care about the revenge thing. I know they usually use the word revenge. Will there be revenge? My revenge will be success.
There could be a legitimate reason for Donald Trump doing this here, but if you don't test him, then we don't flesh that out. In March of 2023, Donald Trump said, and I quote, "And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution." If you don't want decentralization and peaceful secession like I do, then you have no other choice but for retribution at the very least. In fact, you should probably want retribution and more if you're not for liberty. Then January of 2024, less than a year later, he says, I'm not going to have time for retribution. What'd you say, my nigga?
I am your warrior. I am your justice. And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. I am your retribution. I'm not going to have time for retribution. We're going to make this country so successful again. I'm not going to have time for retribution. And remember this, our ultimate retribution is success.
They're trying to make you a slave by imprisoning you. They just ruled and gave a $360 million fine. They're changing laws to let people accuse you of sexual assault to sue you in a civil case. They took a mugshot. A pudgy DA in Fulton County had you take a mugshot. You got to be for peaceful secession, or you've got to be for the exact same thing they did to you or more. What are you talking about, sir? I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't understand what you're talking about. You said you were going to lock her up, or she should be locked up, and then you changed your mind.
That plays great before the election. Nah, we don't care.
Yeah, if you couldn't really decipher that, there were chants of lock her up from the audience, and he said, no, we don't care. That was before the election.
I don't want to hear this from you. Explain yourself. That's out of love. MAGA is so bad here. I think people who are Trump supporters are very scared at what's going on. You can't be scared. I don't say to give you these topics to be scared. Give you these topics to figure out, crowdsource, what's the resolution? What's the solution to this stuff?
I'm not going to have time for retribution. We're going to make this country.
Bitch, you should only have time for retribution. I'm not going to have time for retribution. Bitch, that's the only thing you should have time for.
I'm not going to have time for retribution. We're going to make this country so successful again. I'm not going to have time.
What does that mean? They're trying to imprison you. They've turned the whole legal system against you. This isn't 1980. What happened to the 2016 Trump? Even he didn't do anything. But you got to even elevate that more. So MAGA's got to get clarification on that. People are saying, well, yeah, he's still going to be. Megyn Kelly said, yeah, Trump's going to be so much for retribution. And well, you never clarified those comments. So let's hear Megyn Kelly, who never tested him. Trump turned her literally into his bitch, who never questioned him on the retribution comment. Listen to Megyn Kelly now. This is some bitch shit right here.
If I had to put money on it, if I had like 10 grand to bet on if Trump gets reelected, will he charge Biden or Obama if he can? I'd put it on yes, he will.
Why?
Can you imagine?
Why? He just said, I'm not for retribution. Why would you say that?
I'd put it on yes, he will.
When he was
imagine
2016, he never did it. Why would you put money on that?
Gets reelected, will he charge Biden or Obama if he can?
No, he's not. There's no evidence to say that. See, you see why it gets me so upset? You don't like peaceful secession, but then now, if you don't want that, you've got to be like Stephen Ignoramus. You've got to be Nick Fuentes. You've got to be authoritarian to the max to go back at your political enemies. There's no in between on this. So he says, no, I don't have time for retribution. Forget about all that.
To bet on if Trump gets reelected, will he charge Biden or Obama if he can? I'd put it on yes, he will.
That's stupid. Why are you saying that?
Can you imagine how pissed off he's going to be?
Did he look pissed off when I showed you that he's not for retribution? So people said, well, he's got to soften it for the election. That's fine if you believe that. He didn't prove it last time. And I can tell you, I don't know what mood you're in. I'm not in any mood for softening for elections.
Yes, he will have won re-election in this scenario, but he is going to be so angry at what these people put him through. I know you're right. Like, he wasn't particularly vindictive in his first presidency. I just think this is next level. What they've done, they're the ones who crossed the Rubicon, and I do think they will rue the day. I think the country will rue the day.
These people have terrible takes, man. Megyn Kelly's good. I mean, very bright, whatever, but that's a terrible take.
Middle MAGA.